Elections have consequences, but you'd never know it from the hue and cry emanating from the left as they attack President Trump for doing exactly what he said he'd do about immigration. The left, desperate to identify an issue, any issue to run on heading into the midterm election, found themselves one this week in their issue-free resistance to all things Trump, changing the subject from the roaring economy and, of course, the explosive IG report that unmasks outrageous bias in the Hillary Clinton email investigation to what they claim is the inhumane treatment of children and families trying to enter the country illegally. And that's the key word, illegally. But, of course, the fawning, virtue-signaling media doesn't care about the illegality of it all. Not when they can transmit images of children in so-called cages wailing for their parents and can then act like they care deeply about the fate of these people who are crossing the border illegally. There's that word again. So let me ask you a question. What do you think happens to Americans who commit crimes? They're incarcerated and separated from their children. So why exactly should a different policy apply to people who aren't even citizens and try to enter the country illegally? If we just catch and release these people, we'll just try to return. It's called human nature, and it's what's been going on for the entire century. In fact, the whole use of the word undocumented is a lie. Makes it seem like, hey, they're totally legitimate. They just don't have their actual paperwork. But it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter that there are upwards of 10 million illegals in this country. Who knows what the real number is, because people breaking the law don't generally declare themselves publicly. But much like the mess in Korea, Trump inherited this immigration mess and said he would fix it, told us how he'd fix it, won the election, and is now being condemned and called Hitler again for actually doing exactly what he promised as a candidate. But Trump was crystal clear this week about where he stands and who's to blame for this problem.
It's very strongly the Democrats' fault. They are obstructing. The United States will not be a migrant camp, and it will not be a refugee holding facility. It won't be. You look at what's happening in Europe, you look at what's happening in other places. We can't allow that to happen to the United States, not on my watch.
Now, late this week, Trump did relent and issue an executive order that will prevent the separation of children from their parents. But as Secretary of Homeland Security Kirstjen Nielsen said, this hysteria about family separation is a canard.
The vast majority of children who are in the care of HHS right now, 10,000 of the 12,000, were sent here alone by their parents with strangers to undertake a completely dangerous and deadly travel alone. We now care for them. We have high standards. We give them meals. We give them education. We give them medical care. There's videos. There's TVs. I visited the detention centers myself.
And by the way, you are paying for all that. But the truth doesn't matter to the left and the media. We've learned that. And much like the situation with Korea, all the people who created this mess by refusing to act are now the same people attacking Trump for trying to clean up their mess, as the voters clearly expected him to do when they voted for him. The most revealing moment, actually, in this ongoing fight over illegal immigration was a while back, you may recall, when this president offered to legalize almost 2 million DACA kids, the so-called Dreamers, twice as many as Obama made legal. And the left said no, because they refused to fund a border wall, which they already partially funded 12 years ago. Did you know that? That the likes of Barack Obama and Chuck Schumer and Hillary Clinton voted to fund a 700-mile border fence in 2006, but now act as if they didn't. And, of course, the media never points that out. It reminds me of when Bill Clinton offered the Palestinians more than they were even asking for in a Middle East peace agreement late in his presidency. And the Palestinians said no anyway. It proved, just like in this immigration debate, that the Palestinians wanted the issue more than they wanted a solution, just like the Democrats on immigration. The disgusting hypocrisy of the left and the complicit media just never ends. Yet another example is how they suddenly embraced Laura Bush this week because she wrote an article criticizing President Trump after they attacked her husband's administration relentlessly for 8 years. But you know what? We've known where the left stands all along. They oppose any and all measures to prevent illegal immigration and essentially always have. The problem is not with the Democrats. It's actually with the Republicans. Fact is, the GOP has never been united on this issue because there are so many Republicans who are soft and squishy, and because the business lobby, the Chamber of Commerce types who pour millions of dollars into GOP coffers, don't want anything changed. They thrive on the cheap labor they get from illegals. That's why Republicans have been reluctant to strengthen E-Verify, the system that identifies employers who hire illegal immigrants. And that's why a pretty good piece of legislation sponsored by Republican Bob Goodlatte came up almost 40 votes short this week, even though it would provide a path to citizenship for 1.8 million so-called dreamers and fix the chain migration problem. See, this is not like tax reform where most all Republicans were on the same page. This issue isn't settled even within the GOP. And when you add that to the left's 100% opposition to anything less than open borders in this Trump era, the chances of actually turning the corner on this persistently thorny issue seem somewhere between slim and none. The irony is that we don't even need new laws. We just need to enforce the laws that have long been on the books, but we don't even have the will to do that. But the position of the left, and of course the elite media, is that we should just keep the law the way it is and ignore it. Yes, the left is attacking Trump for actually enforcing laws long on the books. So what their position amounts to is that because they don't have the votes to change the law, they demand that the law be ignored. Think about that. One of the two major political parties in America is actively supporting not changing the law, but ignoring it, while the other party pretends they're interested in fixing the problem when they really aren't. In this country, what we do when we don't like a law is work to change it. That's why we're a nation of laws, not men. That's a bedrock founding principle. Our constitutional republic is weakened every time we allow someone to flout the law and ignore it. For those who find the laws Trump is enforcing to be anathema, maybe they should listen to something supposedly said by no less than Abraham Lincoln, that the best way to get rid of a bad law is to enforce it.